Welcome to part 2 of 3 of Escape Gym, a story fueled by my 11-year-old self's pure hatred of gymnastics. If you haven't seen part 1 from last week, you should be sure to check that out because there is a lot of lore that you do not want to miss. You will be so freaking lost in this story. Plus, it's a fun video, so it's really a win-win for everybody. Also, if you have your own original stories, you can submit them for me to read in the description. It's super easy, super fast. Be sure to check that out too. And if you watched part 1 already, thank you for coming back. Are you ready to continue this twisted maze? Because I sure am. As a reminder, our main character, Regina, has lived on Planet Athletica, a gymnastics-only planet, ever since she was 5 years old. And the story very abruptly ended last time on a cliffhanger of her entering an off-limits door where nobody has been before. So let's continue on right where we started. Once again, I viewed behind me and then quietly slipped into the door, the excitement within me multiplying each second. I shut the white door with the red off-limits sign, knowing I will be the first to find out what they are all hiding. My very first thought when I saw the inside of the small room was, wow! Really? Wow! The room looked like it was straight out of a super cool sci-fi film. All those unique shades of blue and cyan, random lights and flickers coming out of nowhere, and machines, tiny and huge. The enormous machine smacked in the middle was the creepiest and scariest looking machine of them all. After I took in this intimidating sight, I came up to that scary machine. The very first thing I noticed was a fat stack of papers and a long, curvy keyboard with unknown letters and signs. I stared at the stack of papers. Teleporter Machine Instructions Manual, it said, right at the top in huge, bold black letters. Right underneath was the start of all the instructions, combinations, and the meanings of the keyboard and its letters. I looked at some of the other papers. On one, there was a close-up image of the blue and green sphere that hung in space hundreds of light years away. I recognized it almost immediately. Earth! How does this girl, who stopped learning at like the age of 5, know what Earth looks like, what sci-fi films are, and all that other stuff? Hell, how does she know how to read? Beyond that, we get our crazy, super intense reveal of what is behind those off-limits doors. Sure, it wasn't built up, and sure, there isn't really a payout either, but it's cool. Yeah, one weakness that the story definitely has is it introduces all these super cool concepts like the process or the off-limits doors or these freaking teleporters, and they just doesn't do anything with them. It's like such a major letdown, and I feel like if the story was rewritten today, even by me, it would definitely follow a bit more of an up-down cycle rather than staying in this underwhelming middle. It was the planet I used to live on. I understood this was a teleporter. I needed to get to Earth, and needed to do it quickly before my absence was discovered. It would definitely send me straight through the process. My excitement started growing, so did my fear. Earth, my used-to-be home. Earth, my future home. I stared at the turquoise keyboard and long, scary-looking instructions. I knew I did not have much time before someone noticed I was not with my group. I thought very quickly. I skimmed and sorted the instructions at the speed of light. Some of the words and lines were highlighted in bright yellow. They clearly marked off the steps on how to send someone to Earth, turn them into a baby, and erase their memory, replacing it completely with a fake one. That is apparently where the perfects must go, to my dear Earth. I skimmed the other parts of the instructions and figured out how to safely teleport to Earth without becoming a baby or losing any of my memory. The symbols looked weird and alien type, yet I just followed the instructions. I just couldn't misclick, or else tragedy would happen. First, I carefully pressed the on button, which looked like a circle and a line underneath. Then pressed the list button to list off all the criteria I needed. I glanced at the instructions again. There were hundreds of planets. This thing could teleport me to any of them, but I needed Earth. I looked at the keyboard, but there were so many signs that looked like the Earth sign. I clicked my best to guess, feeling anxious. There was no delete or undo button. What you did is what you get. Honestly, for a super sci-fi future tech machine, an undo button seems like the bare damn minimum. I really just added that detail for funsies and just to tense up the situation, even though it literally makes zero sense for there to not be an undo button. Also, I thought the instructions for Earth would be like highlighted, or at least pictured. I'm sure there would be signs that one of them is the right one, because Earth is probably the only one they use the machine for some reason. But, at least I'm trying to add some sort of stakes into the story, which is something I didn't do very much before. After that problem, I pressed the button to keep my age. About that, I didn't even need to think about. I was just about to press the last button I needed for keeping the memories, but then I stopped. Did I really want to keep all these scary memories about this horrid place? Maybe I should simply erase them and start a new, much better life. I then had a thought about everyone here. No, I couldn't erase my memories. I had to warn the Earthians about this place so they could free them all. So we were all free of this prison. I had no friends here, nothing even close. But they were all nice to me and each other. They definitely deserved their freedom. I boldly pressed that button, then pressed for start. As it slowly scanned all the needed criteria, I suddenly heard loud, angry footsteps just outside the door. I quickly sprinted to it and locked it on all four locks. I looked through the tiny eye hole that only showed people inside the outside. Sure enough, there were both Coach Mac and Coach Cheese. They looked as angry as if they were anger itself. In there, I know it! Screeched Coach Mac, aggressively pulling Coach Cheese by the wrist, as if taking a gymnast to the process. I'm sure! Aw, Coach Mac and Coach Cheese are hand-holding. That's so cute. And they're angry as if they were anger itself? Now that's some good descriptions, We can imagine what anger itself looks like and apply it to these people. I just wonder how the heck they figured out she was in there. Like, supposedly all these doors are super high security and constantly locked, and the moment somebody disappears anywhere, the first place they look is at a random ass no limit store? I don't know about that one. It does seem pretty wasteful to just have 20 identical, rarely used rooms. Now, it doesn't say in the story that they're all identical, but they are. Like, it was in my mind when writing this that I remember. My anxiety and fear multiplied by an uncountable amount just because of the sight of the pair. I glanced back at the now fully loaded machine. So close to freedom, so close to freedom, I kept murmuring to myself. So close to freedom, so close to freedom. I pressed the needed buttons almost at the speed of light. The locks on the doors started unlocking. Suddenly, time went twice as fast. No, not twice. Much faster. After I was finished, the box-like machine right next to me started glowing. I reread a small section of instructions and ran in, pressing the button inside to start the teleportation. The machine started counting down from 10 as if to spite me, very slowly. 10. The first lock was opened. 9. The second one was starting to jiggle. 8. The second lock opened. 7. The third was moving. 6. The third lock opened. 5. The last lock was turning. 4. Still somehow turning. I guess it was the strongest one. 3. The last lock was opened. 2. The door was swung open. 1. The two women ran in, going towards me. 0. Everything started to glow and I could not see the pair anymore. I escaped, I told myself, crying, but only of happiness. At last, I was going back to the beautiful blue and green sphere that hung in the sky. Earth, my used to be home. Earth, my future home. Wow. Now that was one high-stakes sequence, am I right? And the Earth used to be home comeback? Now that is some cinema. For real though, we are witnessing a massive shift in the story where the main character is totally abandoning and ruining their home of the past 10 years to go back to a planet they hardly remember. That is a massive change done in an unfortunately again underwhelming way. The countdown may be pretty creative and an interesting format, but it kind of ruins the flow of the story. I woke up in a room. What room? I don't know. I have not seen a room like that for almost 10 years. It had a normal brown table with 4 normal black chairs standing around it and 2 comfy big beds, one of which I was laying on. No bars, no beam, no trampoline, no vaults like I was used to. And I got much more sleep than usual. I'm on Earth. As that thought ran through my brain, I jerked as I became fully awake, the sleep disappearing from me in just a single moment. I gotta warn the Earthians! I screamed in my brain, getting out of that inviting bed and started to jog around the house for its owners. Unfortunately, no one was at home. I had to go outside. I jogged around the house again in search of a door that leads outside. When I finally found it, I realized it was the most fancy door I have ever seen. It was made out of pure stained glass with real-looking diamonds shaped like hearts around the border. I stared at it for a long time until I blinked and stopped daydreaming. I carefully opened the door and peeked outside. The fact that she refers to humans as Earthians makes her seem so much more alien. If somebody called me an Earthian to my face, I'd automatically assume they are from Planet Athletica. Those freaks. Planet Athletica was literally just a gym of humans doing human stuff, gymnastics, but she's acting like a real gleep glorp zeep zorp we are here to take over the world type of alien. And the use of the word jogging is also really strange in this context. It got repeated a bit too many times and I don't know, it's just so awkward to imagine, like, she just don't care, she's just like, oh yeah, where all these house owners at? I thought I remembered almost everything about Earth, since 10 years isn't usually that much, but it changed at a huge degree. The first thing I saw was a super tall building, so high I could barely see the top. As I looked around, I discovered the whole entire place was completely covered in these buildings. It's as if I was gone 1,000 years, not just 10. I then turned around to look at the house I just came out of. It was a small, normal house, the ones I was used to, but it was probably the only house like that for miles. Suddenly, a very freaky thought ran through my brain. What if I wasn't on Earth? I needed to talk to someone. I looked around again. This time I spotted tiny moving silhouettes in the building's windows. I jogged into one of the nearest buildings and started running up the tons of stairs until finally reaching a floor I saw a silhouette on. I carefully counted the offices until I found the exact one I was looking for. I cautiously knocked and walked in. As soon as I got a glimpse of the thing on the chair, I understood right away this was not Earth. The creature was extremely intriguing. It had the form of a human, but no neck. It had red fish scales all over, making it look scary but fun. Fearless but fearful. In the middle of everything. When I at last unfroze from the shock, which seemed like forever, I politely asked, "Excuse me, may you tell me what planet I'm on?" The creature, looking just about as shocked as I am, maybe even more, took a piece of white paper from under his big metal desk and wrote something on it. "Alien language here. Bzeep zorp zeep zorp." Wow, the description of that creature was terrible. I had the chance to write literally any entity ever to show that, hey, this planet isn't Earth. Someone done messed up. But no, I chose a necklace, red scaled, covered human? Ew. The paper showed, confusing me more than I was before, which at first was seemingly impossible. The creature once again took a glance at me and crawled under the desk again. This time he, or she, came out with a thick, thick book. They gave me the book and paper, then led me outside. With one last glance, it turned back towards the building, walking at a quicker pace than it did before. I sat down and flipped to the first page of the book. One look at the heavy book in my arms made me want to jump and run around like a psychopath was chasing me. I immediately understood exactly what the book was and why I was given it. A translator! My mind shouted as my heart did what I wanted to do, running and jumping around. I started work on translating the paper. I looked through every letter, every word, until I finally translated what I needed. I knew specifically what it said. Planet Apollaria. A shudder quickly ran down my spine. My worst fear came true. I was not on Earth. My head was throbbing with an amount of possibilities that might have led here. Did I misclick on the keyboard? Make a mistake with the instructions? Am I even the one to blame, or was it Coach Mac and Coach Cheese? Why are we only freaking out about this now? Was the fact that we weren't on Earth not obvious before when you maybe saw the necklace red-scaled creature? I could have told you that we weren't there probably as soon as we saw that bedazzled diamond door and the 1 million impossibly tall buildings. Also, what are the chances this out-of-planet translator had English on it? And the fact that the creature just gave it to her, not even walking her through it or anything, just giving her this probably ginormous book and leaving it out in the open along with the random strange out of planet girl. I was lost, completely lost, on a whole other planet. I didn't know what to do. I was in a huge panic attack. I could barely breathe. I suddenly felt small, hopeless. The tall glass buildings around me seemed to curve over me with taunting laughter. You stupid! You stupid! The buildings kept repeating over and over again. Then, when just about I thought nothing could get worse, it started to rain. And I, through enormous tears, realized that I had nowhere to spend the night at. Freezing cold, I curled up in a tiny ball under some building's tiny roof. I felt as if I were sleeping on an ice cube with a blanket of snow. The freezing sensation crept all around my body. I felt frostbites all over myself. In case you couldn't tell by that wondrous sequence, I had no idea what frostbites or panic attacks or literally anything were. Sleeping on an ice cube with a blanket of snow is an absolute bar, though. I like that one. Finally, my eyes gave up and closed, pulling me into a deep, deep sleep. Everything around me stopped being cold. I couldn't see, hear, or feel anything. I had no idea what was happening around me, and I have no idea why, but that one night felt super long. I was beginning to wake up, feeling warm. Warm! I opened my eyes and saw a ceiling. Ceiling! I wasn't outside. I sat up, feeling no pain. No pain! It couldn't be gone overnight. I looked around. My heart stopped and soul left my body. I was looking at a gym. A gym where I had been before. A gym I tried so hard to escape. I was looking at Athletica. Then I remembered and realized something I had never realized before. This was the exact place I woke up at when I was 5. Exactly this place! Then Coach Mac and Coach Alice came up to me and started talking like off of a script. Welcome to Athletica. Here you will learn gymnastics and master it. Here are the rules. They handed me a packet of papers. Then they started talking again. You have one question you can ask. Choose wisely. I remember the same speech from 10 years ago. I only recall part of the words and phrases, but it happened so long ago it would be interesting if I remembered it all. I think I just wanted to eat something last time. I glanced up at the two coaches, clearly not remembering me. They were robots, after all. Why am I here? I asked. The question lingering on my mind for years that couldn't get an answer was about to reveal itself. With zero hesitation, Coach Mac blurted out, According to the data sent to me, you are here because you died before age 20 on planet Apalaria, freezing to death. You got into girl hell because of a terrible mistake, but we, nor anyone, can change that. They obviously didn't recognize that I was the one who escaped. They knew my information, but only my place of death, cause of death, and age of death. But then the fear built up in me, and a couple seconds stopped my ability to breathe. Those 3 sentences changed my life upside down to the right side up, shaken and then tore up into tiny molecules. I started to sob, understanding that I died at 5 years old. That thing that hit me on the head drowned me. My parents never saw me again, and even though it was all horrible, the worst part was that I had gotten into hell from a mistake. And with that, we have gotten to the big discovery behind all of this. Planet Athletica is hell! And poor Regina ended up there at age 5 from drowning due to a horrible mistake. Now she's there at 15 from freezing to death. Those are some gnarly deaths, oh my gosh. I unfortunately do not remember what mistake was supposed to get Regina into hell in the first place. Like, I just know it wasn't her fault. It was like some sort of processing error or something. Next week in part 3 of Escape Gym by Baby Sawyer Casper. Again, I'm really sorry this story is like super long and I have a lot to say about it, but hey, I hope you're enjoying this series. Despite being inspired by something very two-dimensional generally, which is hatred, I feel like this story did end up coming out in a very interesting and genuine story, despite its many flaws, of course. And yep, that's about all I have. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to come back next week. My name is Sawyer Casper, and I am saying bye-bye!